Evelyn Carter had always bin restless whenever she sensed something was amiss. By day, she was a dedicated Spanish teacher at a modest high school near the Texas-Mexico border. By night, or whenever her schedule allowed, she pursued her calling as an investigative journalist. Over the past few months, a growing number of mysterious disappearances around her small Texas town had piqued her curiosity. There were whispers, rumors of organized human trafficking. When Evelyn started digging, she realized something much darker lurked beneath the surface. Determined to uncover the truth, she set out alone to investigate an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, rumored to be the epicenter of suspicious late-night activity. What she found confirmed her worst fears. Through the lens of her camera, she recorded footage of cartel members unloading a shipping container filled with frightened captives, undocumented immigrants who had vanished without a trace. But before she could escape, a sharp-eyed guard spotted the glow of her phone screen in the darkness. Gunfire rang out. She ran, but it was too late. They captured her, tied her wrists, and threw her into the back of a truck. She wasn't just another lost soul now. She was a loose end that needed to be dealt with. As they drove deeper into Mexico, Evelyn fought against panic, clinging to one last hope: her husband, Nathan Carter. Nathan Carter had spent years trying to leave his past behind. As a former Navy SEAL, he had walked through fire and seen the worst of humanity. After retiring, he embraced a quiet life on his small farm, but his instincts never dulled. The call came just before dawn. A nameless informant whispered the words that shattered his world. They took her. Nathan wasted no time. He called the police, but the response was predictable. Corruption ran deep, and cartels held more power than the law. If he wanted Evelyn back, he'd have to do it himself. He packed his gear: an M4 carbine, a Glock 19, a combat knife, and enough supplies for a long hunt. Then, with only a set of coordinates sent by the anonymous informant, he crossed the border into Mexico. He had one mission now: find Evelyn, and make the ones who took her regret ever touching her. Navigating the treacherous cartel-controlled territory required every skill Nathan had honed in war. He tracked leads, interrogated informants, and evaded cartel patrols. Eventually, he uncovered the name of the man who ordered Evelyn's abduction: Miguel El Toro Vasquez, a high-ranking enforcer for the infamous crime lord, Rafael Montoya. In a remote compound deep in cartel territory, Evelyn was being held captive. She was shackled, dehydrated, and tormented by her captors, but she never gave up hope. She knew Nathan was coming, and she knew what he was capable of. Nathan's plan was simple but deadly. Under the cover of darkness, he infiltrated the cartel stronghold, eliminating guards with swift precision. He moved like a shadow, using his military training to stay undetected. Inside, Evelyn had been secretly gathering intel. She discovered that Montoya had high-ranking officials on his payroll, corrupt border agents and law enforcement officers who ensured his trafficking network remained untouchable. She also found other captives: dozens of men, women, and children awaiting transport to an unknown fate. Nathan reached her just as a guard prepared to move her to another location. With ruthless efficiency, he dispatched the captors and freed Evelyn. But their mission wasn't over. "We have to get these people out," she insisted, her voice hoarse but resolute. Nathan knew she was right. They couldn't leave innocent lives behind. With the cartel now on high alert, they had to fight their way out. A full-scale battle erupted in the compound as Nathan and Evelyn led the captives through the chaos. Gunfire lit up the night as cartel reinforcements swarmed in, but Nathan had prepared for this. Explosives he had planted earlier detonated, creating confusion and panic among their enemies. Just as they neared the exit, Miguel Vasquez appeared, blocking their path. He was bigger, stronger, and armed to the teeth. But he had made one fatal mistake. He underestimated Nathan Carter. The fight was brutal. Blows landed with bone-crushing force, but in the end, Vasquez lay broken at Nathan's feet. With their way clear, they stole a cartel truck and sped toward the border. Despite heavy pursuit, Nathan's tactics ensured they made it across, delivering the captives to authorities who weren't compromised by the cartel's reach. Evelyn's footage, combined with the testimonies of the rescued captives, ignited an international investigation. The cartel's operations were exposed, and Montoya's empire began to crumble. But Nathan wasn't finished. He had one last mission, to end Montoya himself. With the help of a rogue FBI agent named Samuel Briggs, he orchestrated a final strike against the crime lord's fortress. The attack was swift and brutal. Montoya's guards fell one by one, and when Nathan finally stood face to face with the man who had caused so much suffering, he didn't hesitate. A single bullet ended Montoya's reign. Months later, Nathan and Evelyn returned to their quiet life, forever changed by what they had endured. The world now knew the truth about the cartel's atrocities, and real change had begun. As they sat on their porch, watching the Texas sunset, Evelyn turned to Nathan. "We save lives," she whispered. Nathan nodded, pulling her close. "And if they ever try again, we'll be ready." Some wars never truly end. But for now, they had won their battle. Despite Montoya's death, remnants of his cartel still lurked in the shadows. Word reached Nathan that a new player was rising, determined to reclaim the empire Montoya left behind. This wasn't over yet. Evelyn, now a recognized journalist for exposing the cartel's horrors, started receiving death threats. One night, a bullet shattered their living room window. It was a warning. They were still being watched. Nathan knew they had to act first. With Evelyn's investigative skills and his tactical expertise, they began a new mission, tracking down Montoya's successor before he could rebuild the empire. The hunt wasn't over. The war had only just begun. Nathan and Evelyn had spent weeks tracking the remnants of Montoya's empire. With the cartel fragmented, power struggles erupted, and a new player emerged from the chaos: Santiago El Lobo Reyes, Montoya's former lieutenant. Ruthless and strategic, he sought to unite the remaining factions and rebuild the empire even stronger than before. Through Evelyn's sources, they discovered that Reyes was operating out of a hidden compound deep in the Sierra Madre Mountains. Unlike Montoya, Reyes was cautious, surrounding himself with mercenaries and corrupt military officials. This time, Nathan knew brute force wouldn't be enough. He needed a plan that would ensure Reyes was permanently removed from power. With the help of Samuel Briggs and a small team of trusted operatives, Nathan orchestrated a two-pronged assault. Evelyn would expose Reyes' network through international media, cutting off his political protection, while Nathan and his team would strike at the heart of his operations. The night of the assault was brutal. As Evelyn's reports flooded the airwaves, Reyes' allies began to scatter. Nathan's team moved in, using a mix of stealth and precision strikes to dismantle the cartel's command center. Explosions rocked the mountains as they systematically took down Reyes' forces. In the final confrontation, Nathan faced Reyes in a bloody hand-to-hand battle. Reyes was a formidable opponent, but Nathan had fought harder men in worse situations. With one final, crushing blow, Reyes collapsed, ending the last remnants of Montoya's cartel. With Reyes gone and the cartel's infrastructure dismantled, peace slowly returned to the region. The corrupt officials who once shielded the cartel were exposed and arrested, thanks to Evelyn's relentless reporting. The captives who had suffered under the cartel's reign were finally freed, and the world took notice of the atrocities that had been committed. Nathan and Evelyn returned home, knowing their fight had made a real difference. For the first time in years, they felt safe. They rebuilt their lives, cherishing the quiet moments they had fought so hard to protect. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Evelyn looked at Nathan and smiled. "Do you think it's finally over?" she asked. Nathan took a deep breath, scanning the horizon. "For now," he said. "But if anyone ever threatens what we've built, they'll learn the hard way that we don't run." And with that, they closed the chapter on their darkest battle, knowing that while some wars never truly end, the peace they had fought for was finally theirs to enjoy.